Welcome to Big Blend Radio with your hosts, Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazine.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to Big Blend Radio with your host Nancy Reed and Lisa Smith. Many of you know we're a travel team, mother-daughter travel team, traveling across the country on our Love Your Parks tour where we document parks and share the stories of their communities. Of course, we put the stories in our two magazines. We've got Big Blend Radio and TV magazine, and we have Parks and Travel magazine. And keep up with everything at BigBlendMagazines.com. We're very excited to have Ward Heinrichs back on our show today. Ward is a San Diego employment attorney. He's also one of our Big Blend Radio and Big Blend Magazine and Parks and Travel Magazine expert contributors, always keeping us up to date on employment laws in California. Well, he's on the show today because he sent us on a story mission as part of our Love Your Parks tour to get law and order stories. And this has kind of grown a little bit further for us. The stories have become interactive map stories. We still have our individual stories. And so that's why we're going to be chatting with him, kind of catch up on that. But before we get to it, I encourage you to go to his website, especially if you're an employee or a business owner in San Diego. Go to bestemploymentattorneysandiego.com. So welcome back, Ward. How's it going?
It's going really well. Yeah, I'm getting ready for Christmas, and I'm going to Florida to be with my mom and my extended family. So, yep, I'm getting excited.
Oh, man, Florida rocks. Are you going to the Keys again? You're going to Hemingway Land?
No. No, not Hemingway Land. Yeah, Mom lives in Delray, and so does my sister. So I'm just going to hang out there with them. And my sister's boys will be there, and my brother's coming down. Yeah, it's going to be pretty cool.
I love Florida. Nancy and I lived in Florida, all over the place, all the Panhandle. And Nancy, you were in West Palm Beach, with Port St. Lucie. Yep. Yeah, we love Florida. And actually, the tour started in Florida. The Love Your Parks.
Oh, really?
Way back
when. You know.
It started in 2012, and it was January. Talk about this, right? 2012 in January, we did a radio broadcast from a garden show. Go figure. So these growers, plant growers, called us. Said they were on their show all the time. They were like, will you come to Florida and do your radio show for this big expo thing that's going on? And they're like, we'll send the tickets, plane tickets and everything. We're like, oh no, we're road tripping it, man. So we road tripped it across country and got to the Everglades. We had to do the Everglades while we were there. And we saw a lot of changes in the country in regards to, it was after hurricane season and also the big crash of 2008. You remember that financial,
oh yeah,
really
sure
bad time frame for this country. And we saw and we were also doing a lot with NPCA, the National Parks Conservation Association, and seeing, the centennial for the park system was coming up, and we're seeing all these places closed down, boarded up, and it was kind of sad what we were seeing. And we got to the Everglades, we went on a boat, we learned about trolling and polling on a boat with the NPCA guy, and then we just said, we should start documenting all the national parks. With all the national park units, and do something like a major project, because of how it, tourism, responsible tourism comes from our parks and the outdoors and the history, like Gettysburg and things like that. So we're going to do this, and we kind of molded around. But that was the very first park we went to, and we weren't really officially on the tour yet. But that was the very first park, was the Everglades. And seeing all the gators and stuff. Yeah, so it grew from there. And then next thing you know, we're on the road full time. So it's and now we cover all parks, because they're important. A lot of them are history, and that's where you come in. Law and order. Law and order.
All right.
Now, weren't you in crime law at some point?
Yeah, no, I did. Yes, I represented people who had been accused of violating the law back in the day.
Wow. Okay. Did you? Why did you? And then you change over to employment law. Well, you still have crime because of sexual harassment and theft, and it always goes into some form of crime, right? It's some way.
Well, yeah, most of the employment law doesn't, but every once in a while, one of my clients will get a criminal complaint filed against them. Ooh. And yeah, I have represented them like 2 or 3 times, not very many times. It's been employers who have work comp issues, and if it's bad enough, the DA can file a a criminal complaint.
So does the
Wow.
crime, having the background of crime law help you in the employment side then? And
Yeah, especially in that situation where, a criminal complaint has been filed. And, I'm not up on all the latest in criminal
Yeah.
law anymore. It's not what I do, but I'm good enough. I know the system well enough that I can really, help them out. And I just remember one case where they were trying to get my guy to plead to, first it was a felony, and they filed it against the company and him personally, which you were allowed to do under the statute. And he didn't care what the company, got. It doesn't matter. You can't have it's impossible to have a company on probation. It just doesn't work. Who are you going to throw in jail, So, but they wanted him, and he said, no. We filed motions and we fought it. And finally we got it down to the equivalent of a parking ticket, which meant no probation. So it all worked out well.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's well done. Yeah. I mean, going for the felony thing, that's a big deal. That's like when you have a felony. Okay. So hoteling across the country, you hear everything. You find out. So there's like real live law and order stuff going on all the time. And then there's the historic sites that we go, and that's what we put up on your map. I wish we could put some of the things that we've experienced on the tour up for everybody to know. But there was one hotel we were in. And sometimes hotel rooms have the joint rooms where you can So I had
you can open the door and the rooms are connected. Yeah.
Well, this was locked, and all of a sudden somebody checked into the room next to me, and they were like freaking out on the phone and slamming the phone, and I'm like emailing Nancy. I'm like, dude, I got a live one next to me. This is crazy. You should come. We've had all kinds of weird stuff happens in hotels. I'm not knocking hotels at all. I'm just saying stuff happens. And this woman, she didn't care who heard what because she was screaming. And I think she was in the town we were in to go to court because the hotel was near the court. And she was talking about all her felonies. And so she had some guy in there, and they were arguing about what she could do with her, this felony, don't do that. It was kind of, I put my ear up to the door, right? About her felony.
Right. And
it was all drug related, I think, but that's an interesting thing. So part of law and order, we've realized is, you come on our tourism and hospitality shows, there is law and order is part of tourism because there's hotels set up just outside prisons. I mean, we were in the town that is where, what's his name? El Chapo's being.
Yes.
Yeah, we stayed there.
Oh.
And they have a hotel right outside the prison.
And his son's on the way to rescue him. He's going to break him out of jail.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We saw that on the news a couple of weeks ago that El Chapo's son busted out of his own jail, wherever he was in jail in Mexico, and everybody thought he's on his way to where El Chapo is in prison in Colorado, and he's determined to break his father out. So I'm like, wow, this is really interesting.
Yeah. But you want to go photograph stuff like that. I mean, but so we got a lot of graveyards, and you've got your map. So everyone, if you go to nationalparktraveling.com, you'll see our Love Your Parks tour right there at the top, and the little drop-down menu, you'll see interactive maps, and you'll see law and order. We're building it up. We've done graveyards where there's criminals. There are a lot of historic jails. And then we realized on this tour how many courthouses we have covered. And these historic courthouses are often part of historic walking tours. They're part of the tourism. And the one, the Vernon Parish one in Louisiana, turned out that was a fallout shelter during the Cold War, that people would run there and stay there.
Right. I remember. Yep.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So our next one, I know that we're going to be seeing in April, we're going back to Central California, and we're going to go to Visalia. And there's a lot of law and order there because you had was it Black Bart, Nancy? The stagecoach robber that went through there. Yeah. And then they have a courthouse. It's a really beautiful courthouse. And the best thing is that it's open now as a restaurant, and they have the best martinis in the world. So we're going to go back and recover this. But it also has an old London-style phone booth outside. So there you go. That's your next California story.
Very cool. All right,
Yeah.
sounds like fun.
I know. Now, when you travel, do you go to historic jails and things like that? I mean, to look at them, not to go
think
in.
I have. Yeah, no.
There's a thing about
I know I have been to some, but I have to say it's not like something I look for when I'm going, traveling around. The one I do like, which is historical, is the Santa Barbara one. That's a really pretty courthouse, and it's
courthouse, yeah.
That's a beautiful place. Yeah.
Well, we'll have to go.
We're going to have to go to Prescott, Arizona, because there's a bar in Prescott where this long wooden bar that they have has a bullet hole in it, apparently from Wyatt Earp. He shot the bar.
Are there?
That's awesome.
I know.
Love that.
We gotta go back. Take a picture of that.
Yeah, I've got.
And it's on Whiskey Row.
Yeah, Whiskey Row rocks. Have you been to Prescott, Arizona? You should go if you haven't. Have you been there?
That's a good. I think my buddy's dad lives real close to there, and so I think I've been through, but we didn't sightsee. We were on our way on a hunting trip up to southern Colorado, and so I didn't do any sightseeing.
Oh man! If next time we go, it's like they have the old Birdcage saloons, all these old saloons, and they're all haunted. And we used to, back in the day when we printed the magazine, we'd drive up through Prescott to get to our printers. We had printers, and we went through a lot of printers. But I remember doing detours just to go to Prescott, and would say, okay, we'll stop, have a break, and then continue on. We never, ever would continue on. We'd always have to get a room, because there's a really cool Irish bar, or there's all these, it's cool. So we'd end up, not being able to move, and just had to leave the car parked there and get into the old, I think it's St. James or something, the old hotel. But we did go to the courthouse this year, and they've got a lot of public art and really cool. But I want to know are all the courthouses, do they always seem to have a bar next to them? Is that a normal thing to have a restaurant set up by the courthouse?
All right. So downtown San Diego has plenty of bars that are close to courthouses. I don't know if it's done that way on design, but it might be. And the other ones throughout the county are within a stone's throw of, some type of bar. But especially North County, it's kind of isolated. That courthouse is on its own plot of land, and it's not like downtown where it's surrounded by buildings. It's just got its own little spot there. So there's not one close by. I mean, not immediately close by, but everywhere else in the county, pretty much so.
Yeah, it's because that wasn't that tradition, or is this just how you watch Law and Order stuff on TV, and you're like Dr. Jackie, who says what happens in the medical TV shows that doesn't happen, and you always say that's not the way it is. But they'll be waiting, they'll be doing court cases happening, and then they're like, everybody goes away for a few minutes or a few hours, and then they get texted like, now your verdict is coming in, and then everybody goes there. So I think our attorneys and their clients off having a cocktail in between time. Is that what's going on?
Oh, I never have. No. Maybe after the verdict is read and you're happy, then you might go have a drink. But if you have an unhappy client, or the situation isn't a happy one, then no, you're not going to go out and have a drink. And certainly not, I wouldn't beforehand. No,
I don't think so.
No.
Okay.
That could be kind of interesting.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you want to keep a clear head, because you still have some thinking and reacting to do.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So now over the last year or two, we've been talking a lot about independent contractors, and versus if they're an independent contractor or an employee. And so all of this is changing, like with Lyft and Uber. And then you wonder what's happening to the taxi business. Is it shifting the taxi business? Are they having issues?
Oh, well, yeah, the taxi business has complained dramatically about Lyft and Uber. They're saying, hey, look, we're regulated and they're not. And now, over time, there has been more regulation. But part of the cost savings is because there's less regulation. The other cost is it's just more efficient. I mean, you got it's in your phone. People they drive when they want, and the closest one just comes and gets you. And so there's an efficiency there that I don't think the taxi cab companies have ever capitalized on. I think they could. I don't know why they couldn't have their own apps, but as far as I know, they don't.
Oh, there's something
But
new in Albuquerque.
part of this legislation, the AB5 should make taxi cabs companies more competitive again, because it's going to increase the cost of Uber and Lyft.
Okay, so that's going to help them. And when it comes to Uber, Lyft, taxi companies, anybody transporting people, is there any kind of protection set up for the drivers? Like, what happens? You get a crazy person in the back seat who decides, I'm going to pull a gun on you or something like that. I'm doing this because I have a really crazy story, like a cool story to tell you, but of one of the places that are going up on your map as we speak. But are there protections for the drivers in regards to security?
I don't know much about that. I know there's been some stories about it, and most of the stories that I remember are the Uber driver doing the bad things, or someone pretending to be an Uber driver.
Ooh.
Those are the worst.
Ooh.
Yeah, pretending to be an Uber driver, saying, "Yes, I'm your Uber driver," and then a young, I just remember when it was like 3 months ago, young lady gets in the back seat and he kills her.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's like don't take cookies from strangers, don't get in the car with a stranger, and now it's happening, like teach that to your kids, but now it's happening for adults and everybody. That's creepy.
Yeah.
Oh, so
well, and Uber, I think before that, but certainly they emphasized it afterwards, you will get the license plate and description of the car that's going to pick you up, and check it. Don't get in just any old car, even if someone says, "I'm your driver."
Wow. And you should know the person's face, because what happens if the crazy uncle takes the Uber car for a drive? Decides to play.
Well, I guess that's another issue. I hadn't even thought of that one. Holy smokes. Well, you know what? I think I don't use Uber all the time. Like, I'm going to use it tonight because I'm going to go to a hockey game, but I use it a couple times a month probably. And I think they do have the faces now. That just seems like you can see the person who's actually going to pick you up now. I'm pretty sure.
It's got to be cool to be like a driver and hear everybody's stories. Like, here, I'm just obviously nosy on what's going on in the hotel room next to me and what are people talking about. I'm just nosy, because there's stories. It's stories. But yeah, one of the craziest places, Nancy and I both, this was the craziest thing ever, was the Gothic jail in DeRidder, Louisiana.
Creepy.
It is the only Gothic jail that we all know about. And you go in, it looks like a beautiful on the outside. You go inside, and they just now recently opened it up, and they started it by doing Halloween, haunted house inside the jail, which is haunted. And no, it's creepy. We went in, and the lady's taking us around, and I didn't know this, but the jailer actually sleeps in the jail. They have their own house within the jail. Like, you have a lighthouse. There's they had like the downstairs of the jail. They have, kids' room, a bathroom, the kitchen, the living room, the whole thing. And some of the kids that grew up in the jail, are still alive today. And part of the tours, yes, this is where my bedroom was. I thought that was weird. I would never want to live in a jail. I'm sorry, especially this creepy place.
But can you imagine? I mean, if a kid misbehaves, you just put him in a cell.
Yeah, that's right. I know what Nancy would do. You go in, and then they take you upstairs, and the inside is like a lighthouse, where it's a circular staircase going up. And in the middle, so you got the big hole going up, basically. It's like a tunnel going up. They've put a rope for where these guys got hanged. Inside the jail.
Oh wow!
And
right
so
in the center.
Right, and so what the story is, these two guys killed the cab guy. They got in the cab, robbed him, and they found the dead body of the cab driver in a pond down the street. I mean, that's before the gators got to it. But there's this whole story. They beat him up, killed him. Eventually, one was on the run. They got him, and they're still looking for his graveyard or something. But it's like a crazy, crazy story, and creepy. So you have this rope going down representing where they got hanged, and apparently this is the first time they hanged people in the jail because they didn't want a jailbreak. So the town, when they knew the hanging was going to happen, the town gathered around. You know how they used to have picnics at hangings? The town gathered around, and they opened the door so people could see, and they took the dead bodies of these guys right out the door. That's crazy. And so everybody,
yeah.
I know, this is weird stuff. Then you keep going up and you go into the different cells, and it's interesting because they had like almost cages within the room.
Yeah.
And
creepy.
And I could feel like somebody touching the top of my head and my shoulders. Like it's the guy.
What?
Yes, I could feel like this light dusting on my head. It was the creepiest thing. I'm going to say it's the guy that just got in trouble on the series Survivor. It's his hand.
Yeah,
It felt like
right. Yeah.
it felt like it was a hand, you know. So that was creepy because I got that, I want out. And I was photographing and I was hoping I'd get some crazy stuff. But you go in the room, so they get to the women's cell. And the they basically ended up putting them in a cage inside the room and all the way away from the windows, because the women would get naked and hang things out of the window and like yell and get candy. And apparently boyfriends would come by and stuff. So they had to move the cells away from the windows and keep the women in there. So basically they were in like a 10 by 10 foot jail cell, and they had to eat, sleep, and pee right in there. All on like, and they're like, it's like a bunks, like little bunks, all in there. It's one of the creepiest and craziest places I have ever been in my life, and we've been around a bit. That Nancy you didn't like it in there either. She was like, "Let me get out." And so the lady that takes
there's no sun. Like the cells are built so that they can't. There's no windows. They can't look outside at all at anything.
It's horrible.
It's gross.
I got the creeps in there so bad. And then the lady that took us around, she's from the Visitor Bureau, she takes us down to her office so we can do the interview with her and record the interview. Well, what's in her office? The Visitor Bureau has a doll museum, 3,000 dolls from around the world, a collection of 3,000 dolls. And I'm sorry, but going from a jail to the dolls all looking at you is kind of creepy. And so I said to her, well, did they ever have a Chucky doll? And she said they had a Chucky doll. When they moved it from one museum to there, the Chucky doll went missing. So there you go.
Yeah, that's the only one anybody
Whoa. Okay.
So thank you for sending us on this Law and Order story. We'll find
You're welcome. Wow.
Yeah, we've got some good Wild West stuff coming up, and everyone, the Law and Order thing, it's as I go back in our footage, I hadn't, even before you sent us on this story mission, I can't believe how many courthouses and jails we've been to. Even Priscilla, our little sock monkey, was in the Pony Express jail.
Yeah.
At Fort
Oh, wow. So that's really the highlights of your trips is the jails and the courthouses. All right.
Well, and graveyards.
Cool.
And graveyards.
Right on.
Don't forget the graveyards.
And graveyards.
Yes, and snakes in the graveyard. Warren Earp, when we went to his graveyard in Wilcox, Arizona, a snake came out.
Yeah.
With
wow.
a grave next to it.
We're like,
yeah,
okay.
So a grave next to it. Yeah. So anyway, thank you for sending us on this, and there'll be more. So everyone keep following the map on nationalparktraveling.com. And so thank you for that. And everyone keep up with Ward at bestemploymentattorneysandiego.com. And of course, we always like to play music. So we're going to remember the Cravens, right? The Craven Band and the Craven Raven Cocktail Contest. That Ward, you got up there. You got T-shirts and stuff, didn't you, from your cocktail?
Yeah, no, I placed. Yeah, I got recognized.
So there's the official cocktail, the Craven Raven, really good, and it's the official cocktail for the Yuma Bird Nature and History Festival. So I'm excited because we get to have the cocktail again. So here's a song from their album. Here's the song is called Highway because we're traveling. So here it is, and everyone keep up with the Cravens at cravensongs.com. Thanks, Ward.
You're welcome. Thank you.